Good morning, gang. Chris Angel coming at you with some updates on the Unhappiness vlog. Vlogging Unhappiness, if you will. If you're not familiar with this conversation, several weeks ago now, I started sharing just my own insights on a season of life where things I've just been unhappy. And, some of those, it's not a need for you to be concerned. Whenever you talk about unhappiness, it's easy for people to start to get concerned, right? But we're going to rise above that right now because what I'm noticing is when you can just observe your own unhappiness without making it mean anything, without being threatened by it, you actually get some really good insights to things. So let me say this, don't be concerned, right? What you want to do is just watch. You want to observe the thoughts, what's happening around your unhappiness, and don't freak out about it, okay? So that being said, let me just kind of give you part 4 here. I do this, I haven't done this enough. I mean, I love it when I do this. There's a morning ritual that I do called active imagination, okay? Carl Jung, I think, was sort of the inventor of this. If you've read Conversations with God, I believe that book was written very much in this style. But active imagination is basically a conversation that you have with yourself, with God, with your subconscious, whoever you want to have the conversation with, you can have that. And what I do is I open my computer and I type a dialogue. And I did this morning, and so I'm fresh. This is what I'm sharing with you. I basically will just start to talk to the universe, talk to God, talk to myself, my higher self, with my questions and my frustrations and my concerns and my observations. And then I wait. I hit return, I hit italics, and then I wait. And in quietness, I wait for a response, a prompting, a thought. And usually for me, the thought comes, it's the same thought, and it comes over and over and over again. It's a thought that I can feel, and when I hear that, when I feel that, I start to type whatever comes through on that. So here's what I want to share with you is basically what came through in a nutshell, okay? So the first thing that I got was, in the last couple of days, I've sort of had this question in this space of unhappiness of like, is this as good as it gets? Like, is this, like something's got to change, right? I don't know what that is. I don't know how to change it. I just know something's got to change in order for me to really live into the life I feel I'm here to live. And so I brought that this morning in my active imagination. I basically just wrote down like, hey, I've been having these thoughts, like something has to change. And then I waited. And part of the first dialogue I got back this morning was, not everything has to be a strategy, right? And then I had this picture of like, Ocean's 11 where, Daniel Ocean's trying to break into the casino to steal the money back. There's this whole strategy, this really complex, involved plan to get the thing he wants. And I realized there are things that I want, and every time I come up with something that I want, it seems to inevitably be accompanied by some complex strategy that I come up with. I'm like, oh, well, that's what I want. In order for me to get the thing I want, I've got to come up with this complex plan and strategy. Now, it's interesting because as I sat back into that observation, what I started to notice was what do I assume if I ask for the thing I want and then have to come up with some big strategy around it, right? And I think what I got was what I assume is that I can't have it. I can't have it, or it's being withheld from me, or there's no partnership in getting it. And so whether it's business planning, goal setting, whatever it is, I have these things I've said to the universe I want, and then I follow with some elaborate plan and strategy to get it, right? Now, it's interesting because this other thought came to me about, I have 2 kids, they're in middle school, and if one of my kids asked me for a cookie, right, I would just give them a cookie. Like, hey, can I have a cookie? Yep. Here you go, right? Now, picture my kid saying, I really want a cookie. I better strategize how I can get one. and they come up with this huge elaborate plan to, I don't know what, like get up early before I'm awake, or grab all the stools and ladders they're going to need to reach top shelves, and just all the things their mind could conjure about how they think they're going to need to get a cookie from me. And that, what's the observation? What's there is that they would think that I wouldn't give that to them. They would ask me for a cookie and I would say no. And so then they'd have to come find some way to sneak that out from me. Okay, well, that is the observation that I've noticed this morning, that I would have to somehow trick or sneak behind the lines of whatever the universe is holding captive, the things I want, right? Makes sense? So it was very interesting to look at this morning and be like, man, a lot of the things I set up, I genuinely say to the universe, this is what I want, and then I go into planning mode. And then here's what happens, like the feeling of all the strategy to strategize for everything. Look, if everything you want has a strategy attached to it, that starts to get exhausting. And it's hard because, strategy is hard. There's a lot of moving parts to break into the vault at the Bellagio, like in Ocean's 11, right? There's a lot of moving parts to try to figure out how to trick the universe into giving you what you want. So, So in my conversation then this morning, what I said was, okay, then I will just tell you the things I want. But once I tell you the things I want, like if I want a cookie and you're going to give it to me, well, then what do I do with my time? And this was an interesting next step of the conversation, right? Because I'm so used to spending my time absorbed in the strategy of it all, right? The running around and all crazy like. So what I got was, here's what's fascinating about this active imagination exercise, right? Is the responses I always get are lined with truth, and they're very powerful, and they're very direct and very clear. And so the response I got back was, I said, well, what am I supposed to do with my time? The response I got was, well, what do you want to do? Right? Touché. Thank you, universe. What do you want to do? Well, okay. I was like, well, I'm not going to sit around and watch TV all day because I would get bored. Right? And so then I had to sit into that and be like, what would I do? And isn't that the question? Like, look, guys, isn't that the question? Part of my unhappiness has been so much of my life is being spent in the strategy of trying to trick the universe into giving me what I've asked for. That has been my existence for a while, right? How different my existence would be if it were in partnership with the universe, and then I was left with, what am I really going to do with my time? What am I really going to do with my actions? And what I was left with was, well, I love to learn. I love to teach. I love to inspire. Like, those are the things that, like, that's what I would choose to do. If I didn't have to figure out all the things about business, and I didn't have to manage this and manage that, like, what I would do is I would learn. I would fill my soul with the things I love to learn, right? The things that fill me up. That's what I would learn. And then I would turn around and share that with the universe, with the world. I would say, hey, world, this is what I'm learning, because I love doing that. I love seeing light bulbs go on for people. And so I would learn, I would teach, and I don't know, I'm creative. I'm a creative soul. I'd probably find some other creative outlets. So this is the rub, right? Because this gets down into the, what do I believe about how it all works, right? Because that's a really good insight. Now, when I'm done with this live, I'll go take a shower, I'll walk the dog, and now my day is before me, and what do I choose to do with that time? Am I going to go back into strategy? Right? If you guys have ever read Mary and Martha, right, in the New Testament, I could go back and start to Martha this thing, right? I could go back and start to organize and worry and put things in places, and right, like that's what I could do. That's what I have done. Oh, actually, this is one more thing that came through was to begin to align or calibrate my vibrations, how I feel about the things I've asked for, with how it feels when I actually have them. Now, I've known this intellectually now for years, where the vibration in which you're asking for something is not the same vibration in which you receive it. Like, oftentimes we ask for things when we don't have them. We ask from a place of lack, right? We ask from, damn, I really want this thing. That would be nice to have this thing. And I'm present to and aware of what I don't have, so I'm asking for what I want. And that vibration is different than actually having the thing you want, right? Like, let's talk about money, because that's a great one for all of us, most of us, right? The place in which I ask for the income that I want is a different place than the vibration of which I have the money I asked for. So let's come up with a number like $30,000 a month, let's say. What it feels like vibrationally to have $30,000 a month feels different than not having $30,000 a month, wanting that, right? And fearing or being nervous about the financial future of it all, right? Like, so those are different vibrations. And so another thing that came through for me was, then I'll hang this up, I'll go take a shower, I'll walk the dog, and what do I do today? Well, part of what I get to start to do, and this is where the change happens, that's right, this is what came through, this is where the change happens. When I said something's got to change, what I got was, this is the thing that needs to change. Your vibration, Chris, is you ask for something and you go strategize because you don't think you can have it. That's your vibration. Your vibration needs to change to, you ask for something, you go feel what it feels like to have that thing and believe that you're worthy enough to have it, and then start to enjoy the partnership you have with me. So part of what I get to do today is to go practice aligning my energy to the feeling of, right? The feeling of what it has to have that thing. Because what I have done is say, I want this thing, but shit, I've got a ton. There you go, I'm swearing already. I'm getting all fired up. I've had this thought of, this is the thing I want, and I have enough evidence in my life to say that when I ask for something I want, I don't get it. So of course I have to strategize for it, because I have a ton of evidence I've collected that says when I want something, I can't have it. So that's a good insight. We call that a bad news insight, actually. But you go like, that is the thing that's missing. Like, the thing missing is me believing. This is where faith comes, right? What is faith? Faith is being sure of what you hope for and certain of what's unseen. Okay, well, this is a good test of faith here, right? Because I'm now having to believe things unseen, which is, this is what I said I want. I believe that I will be provided it. I believe that I'm worthy of it, that I can have it. And so what has to change is me aligning my feelings and vibrations to the fact that I have it. That when I ask for a cookie, like my kid's asking for a cookie, I will say yes. When I ask for a cookie from the universe says yes. And I get to rest in that. And I get to live my day out in that. Which then frees up, here's the part that probably would lead, I'm guessing this is what will lead to happiness, right? Is it frees me up to take my worry out of strategizing and planning and conniving and whatever, which is where a lot of my energy has been existing for years. And it gets to move it into a place of receiving and embracing and appreciating. So, that is my unhappiness update part 4. And that is it. That is it. Aligning my vibrations to the things I've asked for. And just getting clear, just spending more, like I've said in the past to myself, hey, go back and do more active imagination. Because every time I do it, I just get to this very clear place, because truth comes through. And it's just very clear. You can feel how clear it is. So what there is for me to do now on my path to happiness, and maybe this serves you in some way, is I get to ask for what I want. Then I get to stop. I get to check myself before I wreck myself with all of the strategies that begin to spin in my head, and just rest in, sit back in providence and faith and belief. that I can have the things I've asked for, because it really is my creation. I also get that, like, it really is my creation that if I don't have what I've asked for, that's my creation. And if I'm going to get what I asked for, that's also my creation. But the way I create it is in receiving it and allowing it. So that is what there is for me to do. I look forward to updating you again on my unhappiness journey with part 5 whenever that pops up for me. But hopefully this served you in some way today. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.